Good day and welcome. It's the festive season where we are going to be doing a lot of shopping. Unfortunately, many of us also fall prey to a lot of scams. We are here to educate you on some of the hints and tips that you can apply to make sure that you don't fall into that kind of a scam. Today with us, we've got Mr. Ntshiki Maluleka from SABRIC, the South African Banking Risk Information Center, as well as Colonel Van Wyk from the DPCI, commonly known as the Hawks, to help us unpack and understand what is it that you can do to protect yourself and your money. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe, Mr. Maluleka, let's start with you from SABRIC's point of view. We know that there's a lot of transactions that happened during this time. Some are legal, some not so legal. What exactly do you do as SABRIC?
Yeah, absolutely, Brigadier. We are seeing so an avalanche of fraudsters that are definitely not taking a December chill. We as SABRIC, the South African Banking Risk Information Center, we are a non-profit organization that is mandated to address financial related organized crime. So when we're addressing that, it definitely needs a collaboration with the members of the civil society and government as well, meaning law enforcement services, because we are focusing on enhancing the regulatory framework and ensuring that we are addressing this financial organized crime effectively.
Yeah. And when you talk about some of these fraudulent activities, I know that there are hints and tips that you normally offer to the public, some of the mistakes that we make during this time. What are some of the common mistakes that you think the general public always make when they go into their banking or purchasing sprees?
Absolutely. That's a brilliant question. But however, we don't say it's common mistakes, but we see that members of the public are quick to rush to social media and complain. And instead of alerting law enforcement, alerting the banks, we have noticed on the phone snatching scams. Phone snatching is at a rise because they know, syndicates know that they can get so much from the devices. It's either they will be able to access app banking, or alternatively, they might even access other information that they will utilize social engineering techniques in order to ensure that they hook in the victim and get more personal information details that they can utilize to access their bank fraudulently. So we alert the public, saying, members of the public, the first thing when you lose even your that mobile device, because it is indeed a gold mine for these criminals. Make sure that you alert your bank. First point of call, alert your bank, activate your two-factor authentication. Do not fall to social engineering techniques where they will be calling you indicating that, no, we have found your mobile device, but click on this link in order to give us assurance that this is indeed your mobile device. Give us your personal information, be it PIN code or other information that they might utilize to fraudulently access the applications. So we say, make sure that you activate even the biometrics. Those are security features that are freely available for victims in order to prevent those kind of crime. But alert the bank first in order to assist with securing of any funds and change the PIN code. It might seem as though it's a small thing, but that small difference, it definitely secures the poor victim, not their funds to be further depleted out of their accounts.
Yeah, just to pick up on that, especially on using our gadgets for banking, because many of us these days, we are not even going to the bank inside. Everything else is done using a cell phone or a mobile device. What I know you've already touched on some of them, but what is a critical thing that I need to be aware of when using that gadget for banking in terms of just securing it? You mentioned the two-phase authentication, biometrics, just on how to protect that personal data or that personal information.
Absolutely. Brigadier, we even alerting, saying always be alert when you utilize your mobile device, especially when we are doing our festive shoppings, especially when we are those restaurants relaxing, enjoying our bonuses, those who are privileged to have bonuses. They should be alert at all times, because not leaving their cell phones lying on the table, not loosely putting it at the back of the pocket where it can be easily snatched by these criminals. So we are alerting, saying that ensure that also two-factor authentication is activated, biometrics, and also other security features like making sure that you link up your device with your bank account so that we can get notification messages in terms of if there are any fraudulent or untoward transactions that might be happening in your bank account. And we alert people saying that when you're utilizing your mobile device, ensure that you are in a secure environment and do not loiter around, or be cautious when people are loitering around. Do not be susceptible for snatching of that device. So we encouraging also activating other security features like facial recognition and making sure that you log out of your app after utilizing that app banking for transactions, because that will be another security layer. And there are other features that probably cell phone service providers they might provide in terms of locking, ensuring that you lock away your banking apps where you can enable them when you want to utilize those banking apps, and by limiting the transaction, because you have got the power now to limit those transactions to a certain minimum. We encourage certain minimum so that the criminals shouldn't get away with a lot of money.
Mm. No, thank you very much, Mr. Ntshiki. Colonel Van Wyk, let me bring you into the conversation. You just mentioned the issue of bonuses. A lot of people will be carrying a lot of money. There stock fails now where people will be distributing money, and a lot of crimes often do happen. Tell us about your unit from the DPCI point of view within the SAPS, and what do you do with regards to crimes in the banking sector?
Thank you, Brigadier, for the question. I'm from the banking section, DPCI head office. We investigate complicated and prevalent banking crimes, which has a direct threat to the banking industry and its customers. We also look into various banking scams, online scams that usually is perpetrated by the usage of a electronic device as a cell phone or a laptop. So taking that into account, 80% of how people are doing their transactions today is by way of electronic virtual platforms. So it's a huge threat to the public, as the public are not always aware of all the technology that is available to circumvent the security features of those devices. Our unit specifically look at those kind of crimes, which also relates to cyber-related crimes.
Now, in terms of cyber-related crimes themselves, we also note that during this time, there's also online purchasing, whether it's in the Facebook money market where people buy and sometimes they don't even receive the good, but they've already paid for it. So I'm sure there are some of those crimes. What are some of the common scams that you've picked up in terms of trends?
Well, during this festive season, one of the biggest rising crimes in this area is the holiday accommodation scams, where people are sent unsolicited emails that there is a special, but that special is only on for a few hours. So for the customer, there's not a lot of time to think about it, and they have to react very quickly and pay for that kind of accommodation, where after they don't receive the holiday package. People should be aware that they must go to known uh, uh, websites which is accredited to holiday accommodation. Do not trust these unsolicited emails that you receive. Usually when it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. They can bank on that. And I think there is a huge market for this kind of scam, especially during the festive season. Then you also have your romance scams, where people would solicit people into becoming friends on a social media platform like Facebook. They will later request money to assist them for some kind of problem. Don't ever pay money to a person you have never met. That is the golden rule. Um, There will always be excuses why a personal meeting cannot take place. This must be, for sure, one of the indicators that there's something wrong with this relationship that you think that you have with a person on Facebook.
And what are some of the suggestions or advice for the public to avoid being scammed in the way that you've just alluded to now?
Well, I think the basics that goes across the border for any type of scams, and there is tenfold scams. To sit here, we can discuss it all day. But I think the basics is always never supply your banking details to anybody, whether it's through an SMS, whether it's through an email, whether it's over the phone. Never divulge your CCV number at the back of your card or your card details. Never supply the OTP that is sent to your phone to any individual. Even if you think you're speaking to the bank will never ask that kind of detail from you. Your ID number, all those kind of things are socially engineered by way of these scams to obtain this from you to further a possible future fraud in your name, whereby you either be the victim or you become the suspect. So those are the basics. Never divulge that kind of information, either on the phone, by way of an SMS, WhatsApp, or by way of email. And never click on a hyperlink that is sent to you by an SMS, an email, or a WhatsApp. If you click on that hyperlink, basically they get access to your account, they get access to your mobile device, after which they can perpetrate fraud on your accounts.
And you touched on an issue of accommodation scammers, and I know that most of the time when you get that link, it's also attached with a time limit. It will most definitely say the special will end within the next 10 minutes, which pressurizes you to also make a quick buy, thinking that it's a bargain. What would you say about that?
No, that's always a scam. I think for all the cases that I've dealt with, that would also always be a scam. And it's there for you that you cannot think about it. So you have to act very quickly. So people must be aware. If you want to arrange accommodation, holiday accommodation, go to known and reputable holiday accommodation. If you are sent an email, unsolicited email, you haven't asked for anything, you haven't requested a quote from a website, then that should be suspicious. And I think those are the telltale signs of a scam is underway.
Mr. Ntshiki, let's maybe just to touch on the issue that I raised earlier of the stokvels. I know that this is the season for that. People gather with 100,000 in cash and you see them distributing amongst each other, getting 20,000 rand each. Some of them post on social media. What are some of the do's and don'ts when dealing with cash from stokvels that you can advise?
Absolutely. We always advise in terms of carrying cash safely. On the Carrying Cash Safely campaign, we say carry as little cash as you would need, because you might find that on the stokvels, when they are going to distribute their hard-earned savings, they withdraw all the money from the bank. And we even give advice saying that you should definitely utilize other alternative means in order to distribute their products that are available. Banks, most of the banks have made their products available to easily distribute this money safely, not withdrawing at the bank, going to a field somewhere or a house somewhere where they can be easily be targeted by this robberies and the criminals who will be robbing them. So we definitely advise always that even it might be a social club, a small distribution of funds, it shouldn't be cash based. It should be utilizing other alternative means within the bank. There it will enable them to distribute that cash safely. And also when purchasing, because we've seen that people when purchasing, they carry cash, but they can still utilize their bank card in order to purchase, to conduct those purchases. And even now we have shifted into as the virtual platform where there is a virtual card You don't need even to carry a bank card. On the virtual platform card, you link it with your device, you are able to tap. But one thing that we alert in terms of tapping, do not tap on any other devices that you find on the shop, because it might be point of sale skimming devices that we have seen that have a capability of near field communication. When you tap on those, you give away your personal information, CVV, as Colonel Van Wyk has alluded to earlier on. You give away that CVV, your card might be shopping internationally and without your consent. So that's where we be saying, when you tap on those and tapping your payment, make sure that those devices that you're tapping on them, they are legitimate devices that have got bank branding on them, not just devices that are lying there. It might be a skimming device. And also, we are seeing the AI, artificial intelligence, deep fake. We are seeing deep fake where they are sending even faces as though it is a person who's authorizing payment or seeking assistance, who it might be in distress, a family member, saying that, no, pay into this money market, such funds, in order to help me, because I'm on a holiday and I'm not at home, I'm in distress. So we say make sure that you utilize another alternative means to communicate with the person, because we're in the AI deepfake. We are seeing there's so many fakes that are sent via social media platforms, even also on those social media, Facebook and Meta platforms, all those other platforms. So we are warning members of the public, be cautious out there. It is Christmas. It's holiday season. Criminals, are not taking any holidays. They are after our cash.
Now, when you mention near-field communication, I'm reminded of one of the myths that exists around there, where you find people in a club or tavern or whatever, and they've got their bank cards in their pocket, and there's a machine that's going around. As soon as that machine passes your pocket, it can tap and money gets withdrawn. Is that a myth or is that reality?
Yeah, there is research that shows that definitely the near field, because there was an email or it was a voice note doing rounds on our social media platforms, alerting us that the person can just pass by you and it will definitely tap. There is a research that shows that definitely it should be within a certain particular radius in order to tap or pick up the near field communication. So definitely it was debunked as a myth. But however, we are warning, saying that even though it might be as little as 100 rand, that might be enabled, make sure that it notifies you. You can do the settings, enable those settings within your tap functionality, and say 100 rand, it should notify you. It should give you an alert that via SMS, and that is sent by the bank as a notification that there was a transaction that happened. Did you authorize that transaction? If not, then alert your bank immediately in order to reverse those funds immediately.
And when we talk about SABRIC, there is a formal relationship between SABRIC and the SAPS in terms of dealing with some of these cyber crimes and other banking crimes. What does the relationship entail between SABRIC as well as the SAPS in a nutshell?
Absolutely. That's a brilliant question as well. We normally collaborate in supporting law enforcement and also enhancing their technologies and enhancing other means to gather evidence, the best evidence that will assist the members of the public. Now we're even going up to further. On our website, we are guiding members of the public how to compile those statements, A1 statements that will be effective, that will stand in court. Not that I was robbed. Where were you robbed? Details. And that will assist in terms of investigation guidelines. And we're also conducting training and awarenesses session with law enforcement as a collaborative partner in order to share knowledge and experience based on case studies that we are seeing from the banking industry as investigators and from the law enforcement, and ensuring that we share evidence as well. Pending all the legalities, Section 205, following the Criminal Procedure Act, we follow those lines in order to ensure that the best evidence is within a chain of custody is followed and the best evidence is inside that docket.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for that. Colonel, just maybe as we wrap up, we've spoken about a few trends that are doing the rounds in terms of the scams and what people should look out for. In wrapping up, what are some of the other tips that you can just share as you wrap up in terms of the new trends? There's new technology, there's new media, etc. From the DPCI's point of view in terms of curbing or being vigilant during this season.
Thank you for the question, Brigadier. I think let's start with card skimming and card fraud. I think it's always good to know that when you do a transaction, make sure that there's not people close to you.
Okay.
They can either solicit the information by taking a photo, or even close enough where they have a device, which is a phone, on which they can download an app, which in close proximity to where you are tapping your card, that device also picks up the card and that specific transaction, and two transactions can go through within milliseconds of each other. You will later check on your banking app and say, well, I paid for something for 200 rand, but it went through 2 times. So never let somebody be next to you or close to you. If you feel uncomfortable, tell the person, please just move away so I can finalize my transaction. That is one thing I can tell the public, is that when you do a transaction, make sure that somebody is not shoulder surfing, be close to you. I think that is one of the things they should be looking at. Secondly, I think always check your transactions after you made the transaction to make sure that that transaction actually only went off once. If there's a double transaction, you should immediately alert your bank. Your card is either compromised or something happened at that specific point of sale where you finalize the transaction. Do not give your card details to anybody. Do not let your card out of sight. So whoever takes your card to put through a device, make sure that it is within your sight. Never let that person take that card away from you. That also links to toll gates, where a lot of this skimming takes place. But if you are vigilant and you check your transactions every time you've made a transaction, I think you will pick up very early that something went wrong, and you can report that to the bank. As far as online transactions, to go back to the holiday accommodation, people should check the URL, which is on the top of the website, and see if that's legitimate. If you have trouble in contacting that company or that travel agency in a normal way by calling them or sending them an email, you should be suspicious about that. Normally, these websites are created and emails are created with only a little bit of background. So they will normally not respond to those kind of communication attempts, and that should make you suspicious of that. Be careful of the SMSs, the hyperlinks. Click on the link to register. If somebody asks you to pay something up front to get something on the back end, always be suspicious. No legitimate company will ask you to pay something for something that they already offered to you. That should also be an indicator as suspicious. I think all the banks are very vigilant in all the scams that's currently out there that either targets the banking industry or a specific bank or a specific banking app. And I think all customers who has a bank account should go to the official websites of the banks and read through all the scams and how it happens and how you can prevent that. There's a lot of information there. And I think if you read through it once or twice, you will be vigilant enough to at least be aware that all these things are going around. People should not be scared. They just should be. There's a few things that they need to do to be vigilant, and I think they will be okay.
Well, Colonel Van Wyk, let me thank you very much. Mr. Ntshiki Maluleka from SABRIC, let me also thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you have it. That was Colonel Van Wyk from the DPCI, commonly known as the Hawks, as well as Mr. Ntshiki Maluleka from SABRIC, just giving us some hints and tips in terms of what you can do to protect yourself and your money during this festive season. As the saying goes, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. So be careful and avoid being scammed. Until next time, goodbye.